Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Raphael, otherwise known as Raph, and today I just wanted to record myself making a pipe. So I am by no means a professional pipe maker. I am an amateur at best, very novice level pipe maker, and but I do enjoy it. It is wonderful, it is relaxing, it is a great hobby, in addition to pipe smoking itself and pipe collecting and all that. Um, but yeah, today I'm gonna be working on a piece of Briar, and I'm gonna try to shape it into a bulldog type of shape. Here I have my drawing on the block, and you see how it has sort of a diamond shape. I hand drew this. I did not sketch this with exact dimensions or anything like that. This is a rather small block that I have left. I need to buy a new batch of blocks to do other more intricate pipes, more precise pipes. But I'm just gonna have fun with this one, see what happens to this block as I go. Before I do that, I'm going to light up this pipe. I made this one. I didn't finish it. It doesn't look finished at all. You can see there's some unfinished paint in some spots, and this was a rush job because while I was making this pipe, the Briar had a defect within that you cannot notice on the outside. There's a very gnarly deep crack right there, and to my surprise, I decided to finish it by adding the stem, adding a little ring here made out of acrylic, and to this day I have smoked this pipe about probably 30 or 40 times already and no issues. The crack never really went through all the way to the airway that I drilled, so I'm pretty happy about that. I might end up just filling that gap with some sawdust and perhaps a little bit of super glue, and try to finish or refinish the paint to a more professional looking finish to it. So with that said, I'm just gonna light this up. I have a little bit of a Windjammer, Bryce GLP's Windjammer. It is an excellent blend, very, very tasty. I highly recommend it. So here we go. So I wanted to light this pipe before I began doing anything, because I kind of wanted to show you how I light my own pipes, and whenever I want to smoke. And what I do is I char the top of the tobacco. I try to fill out the chamber, not too tightly, not too loose, and then just kind of char the top to create a sort of charcoal going on that top surface there. When I light up my pipes, when I use the lighter, I just go around. I don't stop at one place because that's just going to burn uneven. I'm just going to tamp that top charcoal layer a little bit to where I can light it up again and start an ember. All right. Now use that ember to light the first unlit layer of tobacco. All right. Well, we got our light. There's smoke everywhere. It's a good environment to make a pipe. So now I'm going to install my Briar holding chuck jaws. By the way, this is a one-way Talon chuck. And these jaws are also one-way. These are the spigot jaws. I think these are what, number 2 jaws? They don't have a number in it. So if you're gonna get into pipe making and you do get this setup, this one-way chuck fits in any, well, with the thread collar that you have to buy separately, it fits any lathe that has a 1-inch threaded. I don't remember what the teeth size is. But anyways, I think it's 1 and 8. Now, this is in no way an instructional video, but if you can take some of what I'm showing you here, so you can, get your own setup going, by all means, use whatever you can out of this video. So these jaws are, I am very sorry if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly, but these are the ones you find at Rawkrafted.com. The owners of the store, Cheedda, I think is their last name, and this is their own design. I really like these jaws. They're very strong, they're steel, and yeah, these aren't gonna break anytime soon. I hope they don't break, because they probably kill me rotating at such fast speeds. But in any case, I do like them. They do have these to hold, after you grab the Briar block with the jaws. This is additional reinforcement in all directions of the block. So very solid design. Tip about keeping your pipe lit. As you can see, I use my temper. If you're new to this and you're seeing this, sometimes you don't have to grab your lighter, which I was about to do, because I wasn't seeing any smoke. And I decided then to just grab my temper and just see if there was any ember left. And that ember lit up the following layer that was unlit. So right now I'm only checking if everything looks right, if I have a straight line that I can work with the reference line on these jaws, so I can center it right. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this real quick to the bandsaw. I'm going to cut around all this area that I'm not going to use, because the more material that I have on this block that I have to scrape away, the more vibration I'm going to have while this is turning, which is not good for the lathe. You want to take out as much as you can, so it's not as unbalanced while rotating as it will be, since it will be off center of the block. I'm not cutting here, I'm going to have it placed here instead, and this is going to cause issues while rotating. And another way to alleviate the vibration is to come down a speed. In my case, this is a manual lathe, so I don't want to mess with changing speeds all the time. I just want to use the maximum or the minimum level if I'm drilling. So I'll be right back. All right. So like I said, I'm not being precise on this pipe. I'm being very free-handed about it, if you can use that concept. But this is what I get. I cut out all the extra material that I'm not gonna use, so that I have a better chance at not getting that much vibration while this is turning. So let's try to align this and see where I can go with it. Now when you're holding this, you really want to try to grab as much of the briar as you can. In my case, I am almost at the point where it turns into the shank from the bowl. I'm leaving a little bit out, and I think that'll be enough. And all 5 of these screws should be able to hold down for additional support the briar block. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can align this to the tailstock here. I'm gonna use this gigantic tailstock here. This is huge, but you know, it's straight here, so it's not gonna, when I'm passing really close with my knives, with my cutters, I'm not gonna hit it. So let's just use it. Just trying to find the center there. hell's going on? All right. Really, I should be throwing a line here in the middle of the block on the top, but I'm not too worried about it right now. Just gonna press this a little bit. Just a little bit, and now I'm gonna go ahead and tighten all these up here. Now there is a chance that I'm going about this the wrong way, at least when starting out, because what's happening is that I'm having to go back to finish drilling the chamber after I started it in this process, because what I've been doing is I've been cutting the shape of the stummel. Then I drill the chamber up to a point where I think it's gonna meet with the line, but leaving a little bit before getting to that point. Then drilling the airway, and then coming back to the chamber and finishing it. This could ruin the rim of your pipe. There's definitely a better way to do this. I'm just choosing to do it this way. All right. If you do decide to buy equipment to make your own pipes, if you want to do them on a lathe, you don't have to do pipes on a lathe. A lot of the pro pipe makers that are amazing tend to actually use knives to shape the pipe, and you know, there's no unacceptable way of shaping a pipe. In my case, I just like using a lathe, and I want to learn how to use a lathe. This is my first lathe, and you know, you learn as you go, I guess. But if you do decide to get a lathe, you might want to get something like this tool holder that I have here. You can't see it very well right now, but it is a 4-inch wide. This is the one that comes with the lathe, and this is way too big, way too wide for it. This is an 8-inch, and it just won't do, because the Briar blocks are gonna be, you know, around average 2.5 inches of width, and not too big in the other directions. You got like maybe 70 to 90 millimeters long, and they're gonna be about, I don't know, 60 millimeters tall. So I'm sorry if I'm changing here from millimeters to imperial, or using feet and inches and all that. It's just I interchange between units of measure. All right, that's there. this fits here perfectly to where it's not gonna hit the tool holder. I'm just gonna press this here and push up to the, there we go. Now I'm gonna lock this in place. Now this windjammer comes in, it's a flaky type of cut. It's not ribbon, so it's a little bit hard to keep lit, especially if you don't rub it out, which I didn't. I'm just gonna have to keep lighting it up and tempering, lighting up and tempering, which is fine. Now I'm just making sure that in no way this has the chance of, the Briar has the chance of hitting the tool holder, because that would be catastrophic. I think I'm safe there. I'm not gonna have enough space though to shape it how I want it to, but that's fine. It's not a big issue. All right. Looks like I'm ready to start shaping this pipe. Let's see what speed I'm at. Yeah. So when you're cutting briar, especially these size of a block, these are so small that you can go the maximum speed if you have to, which is in this case, in this lathe, 3400 RPMs. But if you have too much vibration and you have to go down, if you have an electronic speed adjustment, then you can, come down a little bit, maybe 200 or maybe 3000. In my case, I have to go down all the way to 2150 RPM, which is a little bit slower than I'd like it to be. But for the price, this is a great lathe, and I'm just gonna have to work with what I got. Yeah, because the shank is so long, there is way too much vibration. This is way too much extending out. So I'm just gonna have to come down to 2150 and be patient while shaping the briar. Still a little bit of vibration, but I can work with it. Now, this is the part where this is more important than this. So I'm gonna have to stop smoking now. Wear my shield because I don't want this to hit my face if it breaks or if something comes loose or who knows. Protect your face, man. And another thing, don't wear gloves. If you're gonna work with rotary tools like this, do not wear gloves. They're gonna catch and you're gonna regret it. And if you have long hair, please tie your hair up. Or if you have a long beard, my beard is not long enough yet, but if you have a very long beard, tie it up. don't let it hanging around this because it's gonna be horrible. I do know of a story in a shop where I went to college, where they had a big lathe, big metal lathe, and this was years ago, many years ago. But it happened where a girl had all the equipment, you know, face shield, had everything, but her hair was hanging. Her hair got caught on the metal lathe, on the chuck, and that was, yeah, the stories I heard were horrific. So safety first. So because I'm working with a bulldog shape, I am unsure, because I use carbide tools, I am unsure on how to attack this, because I want to rough the round into this block, get all that squareness away. But I don't feel too comfortable using the rougher, which is a straight cutter at an angle. I mean, I think I should be fine. I'm just gonna see how it goes, but I don't want it to catch. If it catches and it hits the shank or anywhere else, well, that's not good. And again, I'm not an experienced pipe maker or woodworker when it comes to a lathe. So let's see, I'm gonna just start and see what happens, and if not, I'll just change to the round cutter and just shape it little by little, and that'll be a safer route. So let's see what happens. So far so good. Alright, that wasn't too bad. And I'm almost there where I want it to be. I want to cut the angle too sharp on this bulldog start, otherwise I'm going to have to do a small chamber to it. And I want the chamber to at least be 20 millimeters. Otherwise, if I cut it too sharp of an angle here, I'm going to end up having to use an 18 millimeter bit as my chamber, which is fine, but this is such a small block that I'm gonna have to be careful here. But so far so good with the straight cutter. Let's keep going. Too far from the block, so I'm just gonna come in a little closer here, make sure that I'm not hitting the tool holder here. Now, the thing about carbide tools is that you don't have a lot of space here, that you can't come in as close as you can with the tool holder as you can with regular cutters. So you have to leave enough space so that there's a little slant here on the tool, so you have to come in contact with this back part here, so you have to have the tool further apart from the block, but you don't want it to be too far apart, otherwise you're going to lose control. think I'm gonna call it because I am almost there. Yeah, I already cut too much. Yeah, I already cut too much. Alright. Gonna try to clean it. Yeah, that's good enough. And then I'm just gonna flatten this front here. And that's the start of my pipe. I took more material than I would have liked to, but whatever. It'll be a thinner pipe. It's about right. Okay. So unfortunately I don't have enough space because instead of doing a straight shank, it's kind of bent ever so slightly. So I'm just going to have to shape the downwards part of this angle here, of this diamond shape for the block by hand, which is fine as long as I have my my rim all cut correctly and whatnot. So let's just try to flatten this here and keep going. I still need to take some of this off. Let's see. Woo, almost there. Oh, actually, I'm gonna give it a little chamfer here. Yeah, let's get creative with this. Just gonna give it a little chamfer here. Yeah, that'll be cool, I think. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. Alright, so I got a little chamfer here. Random, not very well thought out of, but looks pretty good. Now I'm gonna drill the chamber. Let's see if that works. Okay, so I'm gonna use my this tool for the tailstock, so I can grab my bits and whatnot. I don't need this, so let's get it out of the way. And before I make any holes with any long bits or whatnot, I use these. These are center finders, and you can buy these real cheap at well, anything. Any sort of tool that I have you can buy through Amazon, but these are like 10 bucks a whole set. So I'm gonna start with these. Just get my center found. That was dumb. Alright. Okay. Cool. so I got that there. I want to retract this a little bit. It's too far out. I want it to be a little bit accurate. I need that center, so let's do that. Let's press this here. Let's bring it back a little. Make sure this is loose and it's not locked in place. And for this, you want to bring the speed down to the minimum. In my case, it's going to be 520 RPM. All right, here we go. Yeah, don't use high speed to use bits when drilling. It doesn't matter what size of drill bit you're using on a lathe. Always use the lowest speed, because even if you're using a small thin drill bit, it's still too long and it's gonna flex. It's not the same as using a bench press or a hand tool. You really want to use the lowest speed on a lathe, because this is what's doing the work and this is what's carrying all the inertia and all that. So if you use a long bit, it's gonna bend and it might snap on you if you're using high speeds. So that being said, let's make that hole. That's it for this. I have a pilot hole there. And now I'm going to take this out and I'm going to go ahead and get a big drill bit, very big drill bit, to try to cut that chamber in. Let's see where I'm at. Drill bits. So you can use ground spade bits to make the chamber. Let me show you how that looks. You can use these. I made this myself. You can buy them. They're expensive if you buy them custom made for you. But I made this out of a cheap spade bit. They're all cheap, but you know, I spent like $10 on a whole set that brings a whole bunch of them. And I just took the all the points out, and this is what you get. Or you can buy these. I bought these from somewhere in Europe. I have to remember where they came from, but these are a set of 3, and I have 20, 22, and 18 millimeter. In my case, I think I can get away with a 20. On this case, it's going to have a thin wall at the rim, but that's okay because it's not going to be that thin. So let's go with this. Let's go with 20. That way it's a more standard size versus a much smaller pipe chamber. Yeah, I think that's going to work. All right, so I'm going to push that in place. Alright, lock it in place. Oh, extend this out a little bit. Put it in place. Lock it. Retract. And now I'm gonna measure. Again, there's always better ways than to do these things that I'm doing, but this is how I'm doing it right now. Alright, so I'm good here. Now I'm just gonna take my trusty caliper. I've had this caliper for maybe 18 years, and it has the original battery and still works. Still pretty accurate. So let's see. This is a more or less completely inaccurate way of doing this, but this is how I'm gonna do it right now. So I'm gonna take this center here where I think it's gonna be. It's about 40 millimeters there. Where's my Sharpie? Of course, I'm recording this video and I can't find my tools. Here we go. Here's my Sharpie, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mark the... Ooh, okay, the previous pipe I made has the exact same depth. So I'm just going to use that as a reference. Cool. Alright. Here we go. You don't want to go too fast when doing this. Take it easy, little by little. Let the drill bit do its work. Especially when it's unbalanced. Like you can see right now, it's vibrating and all that. Take it easy. Alright. There we go. We got a perfect chamber right there. Alright. That looks nice. Okay. Now that's done. Now I'm going to make another chamfer inside here. Let's just, let's go crazy with it. Or, I think this would look better rounded off on the inside. I'm just going to use some 150 grit. Let's just go ahead with some 150 grit and do the whole thing. While we're at it, let's get it all nice and, whoa. Get a nice surface to it, and then do the same for the rim there. And just kind of work a little round shape in there. Kind of soften this inner edge here. Yeah, that's looking nice. Oh yeah, I like that. Came out almost as a chamfer, but it's a little bit rounded, so it looks pretty cool. And I'm gonna leave this one outside sharp. And now it's time to do the shank. Let's do it. Right. Let's get this out of here. Come back to it later. And dang, there's a sin there. Oh, I know why. Okay. Well, this is coming out. All right. And release this. I think I'm done with this. I should try to go through different grits here, but I rather do that later, which is fine. I can always come back and redo that, especially when I have to finish the chamber to match or meet with the airway there. Let's release this, and this is what I currently have. So it's a little bit slanted here, a little bit of an angle coming out from the rim outwards, and then from right here I'm just going to start going down on this angle so it looks more or less like a bulldog. I was going to do like a Rhodesian kind of deal, but I rather just give it a sharp edge and just leave it like that, at least for this pipe. And let's see where that leaves me. I am going to do a Rhodesian circle on the shank itself, so hopefully that looks fine. All right, I'll have to retract all of these and reposition them for the next position. And I'm gonna tell you one thing, it is hot in this shop. It's a hot day, it's very humid today. I hate it. I love Texas, but man, it's either raining or hailing, or it's 20 degrees with extreme winds. I'd rather be at -10 with no wind than the bone-chilling wind that we get here in Texas. It's insane. But I still love the state. I love living here. So less complaining and more pipe making, huh? How about them apples? All right. So where's my, here we go. All right. So now I just gotta align my airway reference line here to, let's hold this much pipe. Since the shank is very long, I'm just going to hold as much pipe as I can. Cool, it's aligned with the jaws. Now I'm going to align it with the tailstock. That came out pretty well right there. Yeah, it's pretty good. All right, let's lock everything in place. And yeah, that's perfect. Let's lock this in place. A little indentation there. All right, and let's secure the block with these little studs here. All right, one side down, now doing the other side. Yeah, since you're removing a lot of material, you really want to make sure that these are tight, because these are your second level security from this block flying off should anything go wrong. Alright, so that's tight. This is centered. Centered as I want it to be. And let's go ahead and adjust the tailstock so I have space for my tool holder here. So I have to move this back a little bit. Put this in place. That's pretty good right there. Now I can bring this forward and throw this in place, lock it, and hold it there, and lock this too. All right, we are good to go. Now I have to change the speed back to 2150. Let's just make sure that we're not hitting anything and we have enough space. Yeah, that's good. So this is, I want to do a diamond shank. I think I can pull it off. Like I said, I haven't thought this through. I haven't thought this through. So I want to do a diamond shank. I like bulldog shapes with diamond shanks. So I'm gonna round it off to where it goes, and then I'm gonna do the diamond. So here's one thing I didn't do and I forgot to do is when you're cutting the shank at the bandsaw, if you can use a bandsaw, you also want to cut this excess right here. I forgot to do that, but that's okay. I'll just cut it with the lathe and bring it down to a round shape. Should be fine. Totally forgot to do that. All right, and before I do that, I want to. Yeah, let's just do it. Screw it. Alright, here we go. I haven't had to change any cutters yet. Still using the roughing cutter to do my shape, my round shapes, which is fine. And let's do it. I want to bring this up a little bit. That's perfect. Alright, here we go. Alright, so now I'm far enough to where I need to bring this closer. Yeah. There we go. That's pretty good. Right. Whoops. Whenever something like this happens where I accidentally took this lock off, stop the lathe. Don't try to fix it while it's rotating, because that could be catastrophic. Right, so let me try to bring this back to the center here. That's good enough right Lock it in place. And here we go. Whew. So, brought it down there, quite enough to make it round, but I might still have to take a little bit more because I am going to use this rod. This is a Cumberland rod, and I'm going to use a Delrin rod as my tenon here to connect it to the shank here. So in any case, I'm going to take the caliper and I am going to measure what the diameter is on this rod. I think it's 19 millimeter. Okay, let's see. It's a 19 millimeter, 19 point whatever. Let's just say 19, and I'm going to match that diameter on the shank, and that way when I do the diamond shape, I can do both the shank and the stem at the same time. So I still have a little bit ways to go there. I'm sorry, I couldn't remember the name of this, but it just came to me. This is an Eldritch Cumberland from Eldritch Pipes. That guy is awesome. He's very much into the obscure colors and stuff like that, and he makes excellent products. I highly recommend his stuff. They actually sell his stuff at Rawkrafted. I'm a Rawkrafted fan more than I am a Fremont fan, but both stores are excellent. You'll find anything you need on both of them. And but if you want Eldritch Cumberland, I bought it from Rawkrafted, and he has a whole array of colors available. So let's keep going on this shank, shall we? Take some. Okay, so I went a little bit over the 19 mark, but that's fine because I'm still gonna shave some of that Cumberland down because the nice layer, this is the casted layer, so where it gets real nice, it's right beneath that first millimeter of the material. So the shank is going to be about 17 or 18 millimeters in diameter, so that's perfect. So I got a shank there. Now I'm going to flatten that front over there. For that I need to take the tailstock back and do the same thing I did with the chamber. So let's take this out. Alright. Here we go. And now I need to bring this here. Let's see where I'm at. A little bit low there. Not too high. There we are. Yes. Alright, let's flatten that right there. That's nice. And yeah, here you have it, man. Now let's do the airway. So back to this mandrel here. Tailstock, and once again I want to do a pilot hole. In this case I'm going to use a smaller center finder like this. This is a number 3. And let's put this in here. Alright, perfect. Bring this here. Back. And once again, I'm going to drill the drill bits. So I want to bring my speed down to 520. Much quicker if you have an electronic speed changer there, but once again, for the price, this is what I went for, and I'm happy. I'm happy with this. I don't have any issues setting this up over and over. Not even for this video. This video is going to have a lot of editing to it. Alright. Here we go. Let's see. Alright. It's a good center right there. Alright. Here we go. That's it. It's my pilot. I don't want to go crazy with the airway because I'm going to be using very small drill bits. I'm going to be using a 5/32 bit for my airway. Let's put this away. Alright, now let's see, because this is a straight-ish shank, I don't have to worry about how deep the tenon has to be, but I do need to worry about what drill bit I'm gonna use because I need to match the diameter of this Delrin rod right, right here. The reason I'm using a Delrin rod is because Cumberland, the type of resin that is used to make this, it's not as strong as when you're using ebonite or acrylic. Therefore, it's better to use this. This is very strong compared to this, so that it doesn't break or snap inside of the shank of the pipe every time you remove it, the whole tenon out of the pipe. So that being said, I'm going to see what's the diameter of this Delrin rod here. It's about 8 millimeters, slightly less, which means that I want to go slightly smaller on the Shank and on the Cumberland rod. It's not exactly 8 millimeters, it's 7.97, so I want to make sure that that fits tight in there. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Especially when I cut ridges on this, because Delrin doesn't accept glue. You have to create ridges where the glue will adhere to the wood or the Cumberland, but it just creates solid chunks that will hold the Delrin in place. It will not adhere to the surface of the Delrin itself. It doesn't matter how much you rough it, so that's why you have to literally cut chunks out of it, file them off. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a 7.85. It's random, but it's smaller. Yeah, it's tight enough. So it won't go through here. So I'm gonna start there and then see what happens. For that, I'm gonna see what drill bit I got that matches that. It's gonna be like 15th, 64th. I really need to get me some metric drill bits, but that'll be on the next purchase, right? Damn. 5/16. This is the first time I'm using this, so that's the issue that I'm having. This might work. Yeah, this might work. All right, 5/16 it is. All right, here we go. I'm nervous. If this doesn't work out, then I'm just gonna have to use an ebonite rod and just match it. So as far as how deep I want to go with this, let's say that I'm gonna do I want to go too deep. 16 is a good number. 16 millimeter. That's deep enough, I think. Let's go a little bit more. Let's go. Let's go 18. 18 sounds like a good number. Now, these numbers are not random when you're working. They're never random. They shouldn't be random as I'm doing it right now. But they're definitely not random when you're doing a bent pipe. There's definitely some exact dimensions if you want the airway to match the through from the shank to the stamp. So in my case, it's a straight-ish shank, so I'm not going to worry about it. The hole's going to match. It's going to be a perfect smoke if I do this right. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go that deep, 18 millimeters. All right, here we go. Perfect. And here we go. That's it. We got the mortise. Let's see if the Delrin fits in there with no issues. Hopefully it's tight. Hoping it's tight. Otherwise, this was a miss. Let's get this out of here. All right. Whew, You got no space here. I'm gonna have to take this out too. Back in later. Ooh, baby. That's perfect. I'm gonna have to soften this here a little bit, but otherwise that goes in beautifully. Alright. With that done, I want to give a little chamfer inside of the mortise just to ensure a flush connection to the stem. And to do that, I have a little kit here. They're all the same angle, but that's fine. I'll certainly match more or less the diameter to the diameter of the shank, because that way I know if I get past this, I'm done. And I don't want to be past that, but I just want to give it a very, very simple, small chamfer in there. Alright. Place. Lock it, retract. That's it. That's all I wanted to give it. Perfect. Alright. Yeah, that's perfect. Alright. So, there you have it. I am basically done with the lathe. Well, not yet. I still have to drill the airway. Sometimes I like to do that in the drill press. But you know what? Since I'm already recording this video, let me just go ahead and do it here. So for this, I'm going to use a 5/32 bit so I can finish the airway. So how deep are we going to go? Kind of have the markings here. So this line goes here, more or less here. This is not the way to do it. I'm just doing it this way because I didn't do anything exact. But it looks like I am about 56 millimeters. About. Yeah. Yeah, if I have this line here at this angle, come in here. Yeah, about 57. Alright, cool. So this is almost the entire bit. Okay. This is a rather long shank. I'm just going to mark this here. Almost ran out of a bit here. Alright, cool. Lock it in place. Oh, bring it back. So here's the trick. You want to make sure that you start that hole by hand. You don't want to just start the machine because this is going to bend and it's going to travel. And it's not going to be straight or a straight run. So before, if you want to make sure that it's as straight as you can get it, go ahead and rotate the handle to have the tailstock get in position and just start drilling it by hand. That way you sort of ensure, see how there's a little bit of wood coming out? You make sure that it is as center as possible. So that should do it. Now it's a good idea to finish it by hand. By that I mean don't go all the way. Just make sure that you have the right direction there, and then just use a power tool to finish it if you have to. In my case, I want to do the whole thing here because I am going to put this back in this position so I can finish the chamber to meet the airway. That's just how I do it, or I'm doing it right now anyways. Again, no wrong way of doing it as long as you're safe. There you have it, man. You got a pipe. Still not functional, but pipe indeed. Let's just finish it. Let's just finish this here. All right. So now I'm going back to finishing the chamber. So here you see you have a perfectly flat surface here. You have a little chamfer so that you ensure that it's flush when you put the stem in, when you work on that. And this is how it starts to look like. So you can see that there's a pipe. You can actually almost smoke it. Once I finish the chamber, then you'll be able to. Cool. Now we go back to bringing back the studs. And now I'm gonna put the pipe here again. And what I'm gonna do, this is not accurate at all, but I am going to use the drill bit I used previously for that chamber, that 20 millimeter. This is the 22, this is the 20. And I'm going to use that as a reference to kind of center the chamber. Alright, so kind of put it there in place. Hopefully it doesn't ruin the chamber, but let's go for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go little by little. Kind of blow up here, trying to see if I reach the airway. I want to be very patient doing this. Not yet. All right, I reached it. Now I'm gonna go even slighter cuts just to get a better opening there in relation to the bottom of the chamber. All right, let's just pull the whole thing out just to make sure that I'm not going way too far. Yeah, it's still tight, so it's almost there. Perfect. There we are. Now, let's see. I want to make 300% sure that I'm not going too far. Let's take the 5/30 seconds bit and see how far we are. It's better to use a light, but I don't have one currently because my light is on the phone, which I'm recording with. Alright. What can I use for a light here? Well, I can feel the hole, but I don't feel the drill bit. Well, I do. I think I can go a little bit deeper. I'll be right back and just use the phone for a second. All right, so right where I ended the previous section where I stopped, it was exactly where it needed to be. It is perfect. You won't be able to see it here, but the airway meets beautifully and perfectly at the bottom, very bottom of the chamber. Let me see if I can turn this light on. I have a light here. Forgot about that. Ah, you can see it right there, sort of. Let me get the bit. So this is what you're looking for when you're making a functional pipe. You know, you want to make sure that you see the drill bit right there? It's meeting right at the bottom of the chamber. I actually like to leave a little bit of material in the chamber, so there's a little step right there in the middle. That's just my preference. I can actually go in there and manually kind of sand it down to smoothen that, to take out any sharp edges that might create condensation when you're drawing air to smoke. But so far that is beautiful and perfect right there. And this is how the other side looks like. See? You can see the chamber, that's light right there, coming through, and that's perfect right there, perfectly centered, perfectly aligned. And now, I'm not gonna show you the rest of the process in the video because I am still learning how to use a French wheel. I have a setup with a DC motor and a speed controller and everything, and I am just not ready to be recording myself doing that. But so far, everything that I've done on the lathe, you can do yourself. It's easy to learn. Just buy you some carbide tools. Don't worry about the traditional tools unless you want to go big and do bowls and all that, because it is much easier with carbide tools, is my opinion. Otherwise, use a metal lathe if you have access to one, or if you've had the money or the budget to buy one. Go ahead and do that. But like I said, I'm just gonna go ahead and finish this. Try to finish the bottom rough shaping of it with my French wheel, and hopefully I have a finished product later on. I might do a video on doing the stem, but like I said, I've never used Delrin rods or Cumberland before, so I don't know how I feel or how sure I feel about making a whole video and possibly failing. I'd rather just concentrate and do my first one without having a camera pointed at me. So if you have any questions, just let me know. Email me, comment, ask me anything, tell me what I'm doing wrong, and I'll hear your advice as well, and have fun with it. All right, see y'all later.